Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, business leaders, friends. It's a pleasure to join you for this Leaders Summit session on the importance of water. As we know, business needs to transition to a positive impact on water to ensure its availability for generations to come. Our agenda starts with three CEO members on the Water Resilience Coalition, talking about their experiences on how companies are adjusting their strategies, their goals, and investing in projects, technologies, innovation, and critically in collective action. We'll hear from Carlos Brito, the CEO of AB InBev, Christoph Beck, the CEO of Ecolab, and Dolph van der Brink, the CEO of Heineken. And after our three CEOs, Jason Morrison, the head of the CEO Water Mandate, will talk about the Water Resilience Coalition and its 20 CEO members who are supporting companies in their journey towards a positive impact on water. Beatriz Perez, Senior Vice President and Chief of Global Communications, Sustainability, Strategic Partnerships at the CocaCola Company, will provide closing thoughts. To start our session, I would like to say a few words about how water relates to the work of the wider UN Global Compact. Every year, the world withdraws trillions of cubic meters of fresh water from the planet's water basins, mostly for agriculture, but also industry and households. It's estimated that over $300 billion of business value is at risk because of water-related challenges. Valuing water means, above all, understanding water's potential. Adequate water means better health, less migration, more food security, more effective climate mitigation and adaptation measures. Water and climate are top risks the world is facing today. We cannot address one without addressing the other one. And on the climate front, we are off track to meet the goal of limiting global temperatures increase to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial level. With regard to water, the impacts that climate change is having on our planet will mean that there will be more frequent and extreme storms, floods, droughts, as well as rising sea levels and salting rivers, not to mention health and sanitation issues. So overall, the impact of climate change on water systems will have a high social and economic price, and yet the world still seems unprepared. To mitigate the water crisis and other climate shocks, we must cut greenhouse gas emissions in line with a trajectory to net zero by 2050 by applying science-based targets. This will require transformational changes in our economies and energy systems. Business and other non-state actors can and must be at the forefront of such a transformation. It is imperative that we all raise our ambition and accelerate multi-stakeholder action in response to the climate and water crisis. Now we need to scale up both global and enterprise-level ambition urgently. We need to take collective action, and businesses need to engage governments, civil society, clients, suppliers, and the smallholder farmers in turning aspirations on water resilience into action and impact. The Water Resilience Coalition is a powerful driver of this effort to ramp up our ambitions and, even more importantly, achieve the tangible, transformational results the world desperately needs. Thank you. Now let's move on to our CEO panel. We will have 2 rounds of questions where we invite Carlos, Dolph, and Christoph to talk first about their water strategies and goals, and secondly about their projects and actions. Carlos, I would like to start with you and AB InBev. Our first question, at the enterprise level, What are the strategies and goals your companies has set as a Water Resilience Coalition member on your journey towards achieving a net positive water impact?
At AB InBev, water is the number one ingredient in our products, so we value every drop of it. Our breweries depend on a reliable supply of clean water for production. Further up in our value chain, farmers rely on either predictable rainfall or sufficient water resources for irrigation to grow the barley, hops, and other ingredients for our beers. As we say, no water, no beer. But water is more than just a key ingredient in our products. It's a critical resource for the health and well-being of every community, economy, and ecosystem around the world. Water and climate change are closely linked. Climate change is impacting the availability and quality of water around the world. Every day, our teams are taking steps to use water resources as efficiently as possible and address the pressing water challenges where we operate. Internally, we challenge ourselves to brew our beers at the highest level of water efficiency by reducing our per hectoliter water use. Through innovative technology and process improvements, in 2020, we continue to improve our internal water use efficiency, using nearly 40% less water per hectoliter of beer compared to a decade ago. We're aiming for water use efficiency across all our brewery sites and setting a more demanding ambition in communities facing high risk for water stress, both by 2025. Through our 100 Plus accelerator, we have identified, mentored, piloted, and established contracts with promising startups focused on improving operational water efficiency, as well as addressing the global water crisis. Externally, we're committed to being a part of the solution to the growing water challenges in areas where we operate. Our water stewardship goal is to have measurably improved water availability and quality in 100% of our communities in high-stressed areas by 2025. For example, in the US, we're partnering with the Nature Conservancy on watershed improvement in Fort Collins, Colorado. The key goal there is to improve forest management, and this is very positive for water health in that area. In India, another example, a number of our sites are seeing the direct impact of climate change and drought on water availability. We're addressing these water availability challenges by helping to build well water recharge and rainwater harvesting structures. We're taking a results-based approach and aim to lead a corporate shift towards measurability and accountability, ensuring that our investments and programs translate into a lasting impact on water quality and availability for our communities and our business.
Thank you, Carlos. Now, Christoph picks up from the perspective of Ecolab.
Well, for nearly 100 years, Ecolab has been focused on helping customers produce better outcomes while improving their total cost and reducing their impact on the environment and usage of natural resources. The bigger our impact, the faster we grow, which is why we're so passionate about helping customers save water. As we've heard throughout this breakout session, water is essential to our lives and our economy. There's obviously no life without water and not much business without water either, since nearly every industrial process uses water. But here's the challenge. Water is a finite resource. The fresh water we have today is all the fresh water we'll ever have. Combined, it would be smaller than a 50-mile bubble over our heads. Currently, 1/3 of the world lives in water-stressed areas, and 1 billion people do not have access to clean water. Unfortunately, those numbers will only continue to grow. By 2030, we'll need 56% more fresh water than what nature can supply. That's up from 40% just a few years ago. There's good news though. We have the means to solve this problem in ways that make business and financial sense too. At Ecolab, we're implementing best-in-class smart water management approaches in all our operations to reach our goal of reducing our net consumption by 50% by 2030 and by 100% by 2050 in all water-stressed areas. The other good news is that by doing so, we also reduce our carbon footprint. Because roughly 20% of all power produced in the world gets used to manage water, to heat it, cool it, pump it, treat it, we're also reducing our energy consumption quite dramatically, which means our carbon footprint. Also, As a company, we've committed to achieving the Alliance for Water Stewardship certification by 2030 in all our water-stressed operations, which is a big deal for us, considering how localized water challenges are. As the global leader in water, hygiene and infection prevention solutions, technologies and services, it's clear Ecolab's biggest impact is through what we do every single day for our 3 million customers around the world. Each year, we help manage 1 trillion gallons of water. In 2020 alone, we helped our customers save 206 billion gallons of water, which is the equivalent of the annual drinking water needs of 712 million people. So we've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't. For instance, it's become very clear to us that new technologies, especially digital technologies, are great enablers to get to net zero. The old-fashioned way of just operating better by taking less water, using it more efficiently, and treating it as an effluent won't get us there. We need to fully rethink the way water is managed, in a circular way, where water is being reused and recycled. But here's the problem. Water doesn't like to be reused. So when you do so, you also create lots of new problems like scaling, corrosion, or contamination issues that are really hard to manage. That's where new technologies come into play. And that's where our global partnerships with great companies like Microsoft have made a major difference in reusing water like nature does. With our 3D Tracer connected chemistry, we can trace water inside the process. With our 3D Tracer sensing technology, we can measure the quality of the water and understand the gap between the current state and the natural standard. With the Ecolab 3D Cloud, we then capture all the data, process it, predict what's needed, adjust the process, and dispense the right mix of connected chemistry to bring the water back to its natural standard, to be reused and recycled as many times as it's needed. And ultimately, our state-of-the-art Global Intelligence Center based in India makes sure that all plants operate at standard, or we adjust in real time when it's required. With the most advanced customers, however, we go even one step further. For example, we're working with Microsoft's data centers and a major consumer goods company. Both have put a stake in the ground to be water neutral or water positive by 2030. To make this happen, we've co-developed with Microsoft Digital Twin technology, a technology that recreates a digital model of the whole plant in the cloud and allows you to maximize operating performance while reducing water and carbon footprints. Again, by doing what nature has done for millions of years, by managing water in a circular way.
Very inspiring, Christoph. Now, let us hear from Dolph and Heineken.
Now, water is incredibly important to us and to us all. It is the key ingredient, the essential ingredient of life. It's the essential ingredient of beer. And Heineken being from the Netherlands, we have this even more special relationship with water as it literally surrounds us. Now, as part of our Brewing a Better World 2030 vision, where we are setting clear ambitions in 9 different areas, one of those 9 areas is towards healthy watersheds. This concerns our water strategy. Just reducing or improving water efficiency, which is basically what we all in the industry have been doing over the last 1 or 2 decades, is no longer enough. As much as we have achieved, Heineken, we have achieved 30% higher water efficiency over this decade, but it's not enough. We literally also need to look outside of the breweries that we operate in all those many countries. And as such, we are setting 3 very specific commitments. One is around full water balancing our breweries in water-scarce areas. The second one is around circularity. And the third one is still, it's not irrelevant, we still commit to ever-increasing water efficiency targets. Now, on balancing the watersheds in which we operate in the water-scarce areas, that's of the utmost importance. What we commit to is that all the water that ends up being used without being returned to nature, that we balance that in a variety of ways so that we become a neutral or even better, a net positive contributor to the watersheds in those areas where we operate. On the circularity, first, and that's table stakes, we commit to treat the wastewater of any of our operations around the globe. Secondly, we need to make sure that we reuse as much of our wastewater as possible, because particularly in water scarce areas, because we are producing drink water quality wastewater, and then it ends up in open water or even the sewer system. And there's huge opportunities to reuse that wastewater in agriculture or for other industrial usage. And last but not least, efficiency. As said, we have had a 30% improvement in efficiency, and we commit to a further improvement towards 2.9 liter of water use for every liter of beer produced in general, and 2.6 liter for liter in our water scarce areas. And as such, water is at the heart and intrinsic part of our overall sustainability strategy, Brew a Better World 2030.
Thanks for those insights, Dolph. Now, on the second round, with our second question. More broadly, what projects and/or collective action are you implementing to reach your goal? What are your KPIs? Can your actions be easily scaled and replicated? What challenges does your company face? A lot of questions.
Very good. Let me specifically talk to our water balancing strategy, which I think is at the heart of our water strategy as part of our Brewing a Better World 2030 ambition. We have around 30 breweries operating in water scarce areas, and in 12 of those we already have attained full water balancing within the local watershed, and we have learned a lot. One thing that is very clear, it really takes collective action. You need a systemic solution to mobilize different actors in the local communities to all contribute to balancing the local watershed. And as such, our experience in Monterrey, Mexico was kind of foundational, whereby we joined a couple of other major local actors in launching in 2013 the Metropolitan Monterrey Water Fund, a private-public body mobilizing together to restore the health of the San Juan River basin. And one of the things we learned that there is actually sufficient rainfall, but due to urbanization and deforestation, the rain runs off into the rivers, into the sea, and hasn't time to penetrate, to replenish the local water table. So collectively as a water fund, and we have done our part as Heineken, we have contributed to a massive and scaled reforestation of the San Juan River basin area, whereby as Heineken we contributed over 1,400 hectares of reforested land, which is about 2 million trees. And we're very happy to say that the water shed is on its way and close to being balanced. In other areas, reforestation is not the way to go, but it may be that you really have to make sure that usage of water is being done more efficient by the community. And in a typical country, agriculture represents around 70% or more of the local water usage. And therefore, supporting, contributing to increasing water usage of the agricultural sector is a major priority. In Guanajuato, which is another state within Mexico, we are working together with hundreds, if not thousands, of local farmers to support them, help them improve their practices on how they use water. And in the end, beer is a natural product. We use huge amounts of malted barley and hops, and as such we have a direct relationship with thousands of farmers in many places across the world, and that's another way in how we are trying to contribute to balancing the local watershed. In all those cases, there is collective action, it is mobilizing the local community, it is really making sure you have the science in place. We signed up with the Nature Conservancy and other kind of regional and global actors who really help us in making this a truly science-based approach. And as such, I would like to launch a call to action of all the participants in this council to work together in contributing to more healthy and balanced watersheds all over the world.
Thank you again, Dolph. Carlos, you have the word.
The scale of the global water challenge is bigger than any individual organization, so we work with local and global partners towards innovative solutions. Through our global partnerships with the Nature Conservancy and WWF, we continue to invest financial and technical resources into green infrastructure initiatives and conservation projects. Together with the TNC and WWF, we share the belief that measurable impact at scale is the next frontier in water stewardship. We also catalyze collective action at the local level, bringing together the key stakeholders to understand and deliver actions to address the specific water challenges in our communities facing water stress. We have been pioneer investors in a number of water funds in Brazil over many years, so we have seen that measurable impact is possible in locations such as Jaguariúna in the state of São Paulo. But we've also seen that getting to scale is not easy when different companies have different objectives and timeframes, and the public and private sectors often have different priorities. By making long-term commitments to water security have shown that collective action can have positive water impact. A more recent example, as the longest-standing member of the beverage industry environmental roundtable, we played an active role in facilitating the first global beverage industry-wide watershed coalition in Guadalajara, Mexico. This initiative aims to improve water quantity, quality, and access. Among the key activities of this initiative are planting indigenous vegetation to increase the levels of groundwater, as well as reduce soil erosion. Other key partners in this initiative include many of our peers in the beverage industry, further highlighting the importance of cross-industry collaboration on water. While it's easy to talk about collective action, actually doing it can be very challenging. It's not easy for companies to work together, but when they do, they can achieve incredible results. This was a major driver for us to join the Water Resilience Coalition and also the 2030 Water Resources Group to enable us to leverage investment with our peers and others for long-term watershed health. At AB InBev, we're proud of our progress and will continue to challenge ourselves and our peers to build resilient watersheds and communities, because when our communities thrive, our business thrives.
Thank you, Carlos. To close our panel, I would like to call back Christoph. Over to you for the last word.
At Ecolab, our best plans and solutions are always developed by partnering with our customers and by helping them reach their most ambitious goals. Businesses, just like the ones on this great panel today, are setting ambitious sustainability goals. And we all know that it's hard to get there, but that's the whole idea. Ambitious goals always take a lot of work, but the hardest part is knowing where to start. That's why we continue to offer new technologies and solutions that help businesses turn challenges into opportunities. And with these new tools, like the Ecolab Smart Water Navigator, companies can build practical roadmaps. The Smart Water Navigator is a tool that's free and available online, a tool that we've developed together with our partners at Microsoft and S&P Global TrueCost. This tool helps companies understand the true value of water in their own operations, and by also factoring in the health of the local communities and the pressure posed by climate change and population growth, they can now also understand the incremental risks they're facing and manage them accordingly. It then gives users a practical, industry-specific guide so they can take tangible steps to achieving corporate and facility-level water goals and develop a global roadmap. With this, companies understand where to start their water conservation journey by identifying the geographies with the most risk and where the conservation investments make the greatest impact with the highest return. They can then gather insights, track action steps, and make more informed decisions while measuring progress. An example of the Smart Water Navigator in action was the work Microsoft did for their own data centers operations. In San Antonio, for example, the tool helped them manage different levels of water quality while optimizing performance, water use, and cost. And by choosing recycled water over potable water, Microsoft managed to save 58 million gallons of water, which led to significant cost reductions in water and in energy, all while improving operating performance, which is pretty cool. Another example is what we're doing in California, one of the 11 water-stressed basins the Water Resilience Coalition has decided to focus on, together with companies like Microsoft, Intel, and Target. Over a quarter of the state is now in exceptional drought, the worst category, and even a bit misleading as calling it a drought implies a temporary state. Well, it's getting increasingly clear that it's become a new normal, which has led to drastic cuts in water allocations to all water users. But that's not new for California. That's why we focused on that basin for years and continue to ramp up our work. Starting in our own operations naturally, where we're continuously reducing, reusing, and recycling water within our plants, and by getting them certified by the Alliance for Water Stewardship. In 2016, we also co-founded a public-private partnership called the California Water Action Collaboration, which targets water risks by pursuing collective action in Southern California. And just this year, we also funded the Colorado River Indian Tribe Project, which should reduce water risks through water conservation projects that stabilize water levels in Lake Mead, a vital source of water for Southern California. As you can see, our work never stops. But this is what we do, and this is the fundamental reason for our global success. The more water we help save and improve, the faster we grow, and the more good we can do for the planet.
I would like to thank you, Carlos, Dolph, and Christoph, for your interventions. Very interesting to learn how your companies are working to address this enormous challenge to make water a resilient resource for everyone. Now I would like to introduce Jason Morrison. He'll speak about how the Water Resilience Coalition is working with companies and partners to accelerate positive impact on water.
Hello, everybody. Greetings around the world. The Water Resilience Coalition was born out of the recognition that we are not on track to address the global water challenge. Indeed, if you look at most global indicators around fresh water, they show that we're trending in the wrong direction. Just a few weeks ago, UN Water did a midterm review of progress towards achieving SDG 6, the Sustainable Development Goal on water. And they found that for some of the targets underpinning the goal, that we'll need to quadruple the progress in order to achieve our ambition by 2030. It's this recognition that spurred the creation of the Water Resilience Coalition on World Water Day last year. It is a CEO-led initiative with a common goal: to accelerate progress against the global water challenge. A key starting point for the Water Resilience Coalition is the notion that the member companies are setting enterprise-level commitments around water. And these commitments are time-bound and quantifiable. A cornerstone concept of the commitment is the idea of net positive water impact. This is a very powerful concept from our perspective. It can be thought of as a North Star for water that's globally relevant and that aligns with SDG 6, but can be tailored to local context. And we know this is important for water because the challenges in one particular region of the world are different than another when it comes to water. One important aspect about having a shared commitment on water is that it opens the door to work collaboratively in locations of shared interest. And indeed, when member companies of the Water Resilience Coalition make this commitment around net positive water impact, it's not just for their own company, but it's a commitment that we make together, because that's the only way that you can really have impact at scale in these water-stressed regions. The coalition has also set a collective ambition for 2030 to have a positive impact on water resources in over 100 water-stressed basins globally. In 2021, we've started working together in 11 river basins in 5 countries: India, South Africa, Brazil, Mexico, and USA. And in the coming months, we will be developing a roadmap for how do we plan to have this impact in 100 basins by 2030, and we will publicly roll that out at COP26 in Glasgow in November. The coalition has also made a commitment to enable climate resilient water access, sanitation, and hygiene for over 100 million people by 2030. Those are the two commitments for the coalition as a whole, and we will roll that progress and roadmap out in November. One way that the Water Resilience Coalition is looking to elevate the profile of water is to connect it more closely to the climate agenda, and we're doing so through the water resilience lens. A lot of effort has been spent in the business community thinking about climate mitigation solutions, but not as much time and effort and investment being spent on thinking about climate adaptation. And this is where water and impacts on water will be felt by many companies around the world. So our effort to build water security and resilience in basins is an effort to try to come up with solutions to climate change and its impacts on water systems globally. We are very proud that we have been recognized by the UNFCCC as one of the founding partners under the Water Resilience, under the Race to Resilience initiative. And we will be looking to showcase our work in Glasgow at COP26. A few things in closing I'd like to say about the Water Resilience Coalition. One is an understanding that the business community is uniquely positioned to think about and invest in innovative solutions around water. And there's also a recognition that water stands in a very solid position to be an enabler to solve other societal challenges. So investments, for example, in improving water security can simultaneously have climate mitigation benefits through greenhouse gas reduction, or biodiversity benefits, or socioeconomic well-being benefits, or even women and gender equality benefits. And the member companies of the Water Resilience Coalition understand that and are looking at innovative ways to co-finance these solutions in these water-stressed basins globally. We encourage businesses across the Global Compact Network to join the coalition and to try to have impact at scale with speed in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Well said, and quite an inspiration. This is where I take my leave and introduce our final speaker, Beatriz Perez. Thank you so much for joining. It's very nice to have you with us. Bea, can you give us some perspective on the business relation to water, the need for us to work collectively, and the importance of collective action according to Coca-Cola's experience?
Thank you for the opportunity to close out this important session. The Coca-Cola Company is deeply committed to taking action on water. Water is critical to the communities we are privileged to operate in. It is our first and most vital ingredient, as well as being critical to our agricultural supply chain. Water is also under increasing stress in many parts of the world. Presently, 2 billion people around the world are living in water-stressed areas, and this will rise to more than half the world's population by 2050 if no action is taken. The session today focused on the interconnectedness of climate and water. This is extremely important and an intersection we are very mindful of. Climate change is already greatly exacerbating the world water crisis, intensifying floods, prolonging droughts, and more. In many ways, it is estimated that the worst impacts of the climate crisis will be felt through water stress. And as the world's largest beverage company, we recognize we have a responsibility to be a corporate leader on water. One of the actions I'm most proud of, and we have worked with many wonderful partners like many of you around the world on this, is to replenish all the water we use globally to produce our beverages. This means that for every drop of water we use in our beverages, we will give one back to nature. We set this goal in 2010, and we were the first global company to set such a target. Since 2015, we have consistently achieved water balance each year. For example, in 2020, we returned an equivalent of 170% of water used in our finished beverages to communities and nature. But this does not mean we should stop here. We must continue to push ourselves. And so earlier this year, we announced our 2030 water security strategy. Our vision is to achieve water security where we operate, source ingredients, and touch people's lives. We will seek to do this by improving water availability, quality, access, and governance. Our strategy acknowledges that water challenges, whether water stress, poor quality, or lack of access, are fundamentally local in nature. Specific water targets and interventions must be born of a deep understanding of the local context. Again, we cannot achieve these outcomes alone. Working with our partners across civil society, in government, and in business will be critical to success. Positive water impact will come from collective actions, which is why the Coca-Cola Company is engaged with the other corporate leaders here today in the Water Resilience Coalition, a CEO-led initiative committed to reducing water stress by 2050, as well as other multi-stakeholder partnerships like the 2030 Water Resources Group at the World Bank. Together, we seek to scale our impact by building on each other's initiatives and ensuring that our investments contribute to achieving water security for all. Thank you for the opportunity to close out this important session, and I wish you all a very successful UN Global Compact Leader Summit 2021.